This past weekend saw kind of a huge flare up, in my opinion, on Twitter between two rival projects, Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum. Binance Smart Chain is more or less a copy and paste of Ethereum with a few different features. Notably, it only has about 21 nodes that process information on the network compared to Ethereum's like 8,000, I think, at press time. And Binance Smart Chain is a chain, just like a blockchain, like any other chain out there, but it's for decentralized finance specifically. Binance launched this project quite a while ago, but it's morphed over the years, and now they're trying to scoop up Ethereum projects, DeFi projects like Uniswap or whatever, and they copy paste them and throw them on Binance Smart Chain, and then users move over to Binance Smart Chain because it's cheaper to transact on. This has infuriated a lot of Ethereum community members, and they took action this last weekend with one developer, unknown right now, who released a contract on Binance Smart Chain called Tank Wars, making fun or making light of or pointing towards the Tiananmen Square incident in 1989. The point being that Binance Smart Chain exists it claims to be a decentralized network, but is perhaps not. And that Binance has lots of parties and affiliates in China, and they have a lot to lose from keeping this contract live with the Chinese Communist Party not wanting that information to be on a public ledger. So if this contract was on Bitcoin or Ethereum, there's not much that the Communist Party could do about it. But because it's on Binance Smart Chain, CZ and Binance are probably pressured to take this down by the Communist Party of China. So I want to throw this over to Naomi as someone who's been cataloging a lot of human rights abuse in the space and in cryptocurrencies particularly. What is your take on this incident? And if you need any more explanation about it, it was kind of a niche topic and hot spot over the weekend.
So I think that, Eric Voorhees had a tweet a while ago that stuck out for me where he said, Ethereum maxis don't be to the Binance chain what Bitcoin maxis are to Ethereum. As this idea of people being so tribal that they just hate any sort of competition. Now, I understand what the Ethereum maxis are trying to point out here. They're trying to prove that Binance chain is not as decentralized as Binance claims. They want it to get rolled back to before these smart contracts existed. They're trying to pressure the point by using things that are big, like fulcrums or linchpins for Binance, which is they don't want to displease the Chinese government. You make a good point about like if this were on Ethereum or if this were on Bitcoin, then they couldn't take it down. Are people actually, using their power for good? Are they actually using these chains to get information to places like China where they have, the famous great Chinese firewall there that blocks out information? Are they trying to get information to people in North Korea, or are they just kind of shit stirring, mind the language, and just trying to like push back on something because they don't like competition? Ethereum at the moment for DeFi doesn't work in so many ways. I wish it did because it's awesome. I love it. I love the DeFi world. I love what Ethereum's created. Fees are so high that unless you're a huge player, it's just not financially viable for people to participate in this. It's not possible for me to go on Augur and place a bet and try and make money from that unless it's a huge bet because the fees are just so astronomical there. So if people are using Binance and they're still able to participate in this world that is a lot more decentralized than traditional finance, I think that's really cool, and Ethereum will eventually get there. Ethereum hopefully will scale soon when people may migrate back to the more decentralized platform. But then in the interim, let people have choices and stop trying to force a closure. That's my take on that. I don't know. Zach, what's your thought on all of this?
I was so logged off this weekend. This is all new to me. But wait, so did Binance have to roll it back? What's the end of this story?
No, they
what's
haven't.
The kicker here? They haven't. Nothing has happened. Okay, I got it.
No,
so it's
and people are also. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, it's just like a provocation, right? It's like gets people thinking about some of these issues in like tangible terms, right? Is that the idea? This is like shit posting with code. Is that like that we're talking about
Yeah,
here?
but these things, the mob rule tends to escalate. And instead of just like pointing out a flaw and saying, hey, this is for information, people tend to pile on, and then it becomes a lot bigger than they intended. It's like, yeah, let's actually bring them down. Let's actually crush all the Binance employees because they're, part and parcel to this non-decentralized thing. Like that sort of mentality is what bothers me a lot about the crypto space and the pile-on. Ben, what were your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I guess I wasn't following this either. Will gave me the too long didn't read like earlier this morning, catching up on it. I think it's interesting. I'm trying to think of the right word exactly, where you're trying to invoke the powers of a more authoritarian government to come down and test the infrastructure of a supposedly decentralized network in this sense, which I understand BSC is publicly. That's what they say is the case. So I'm wary of that as like a common practice. That doesn't seem to be the bear you want to poke for people who are living on the ground in China potentially. Well, I think you had a couple thoughts on this, but to me, it seems like, maybe Naomi, you were getting to this, like point it out and then you can observe it and you can talk about it, but trying to invoke the specter of like a government arm coming down is not necessarily the best route forward, in my opinion, on this.
Will, what's the more mainstream takeaway from this story? I think we're talking about a lot of different things, but for people watching the show, like what is the one thing that they can take away that actually applies to what they're maybe kind of starting to dabbling in the crypto universe?
Yeah, for sure. Great question. So to me, I think it kind of points back to an op-ed actually we had on CoinDesk about 2 years ago now from Gavin Wood, who was a co-founder of Ethereum and now is building Polkadot. And he entitled that op-ed, Here Come the Blockchain Wars. And I think that is kind of what we're seeing right now, is that there's a lot of competitors for Ethereum, and some of them are really shoddy projects and some of them are decent projects. But either way, Ethereum has a $150 billion market cap. That's a lot of money on the table for developers, and people are going to come for that money. And people who are involved in the space are going to get some mud on their sleeves from protecting their turf. I think this was an instance of bad judgment by whoever did it, because there is the possibility that Binance employees are detained or put in jail or whatnot just because someone threw up this contract. On the other hand, it's also a bad look for Binance in the sense that this blockchain really isn't decentralized right now. And it's pretty well known that it's not. And Binance is taking on that regulatory risk by throwing that chain up and trying to compete with Ethereum. So, I think a balanced view in this, and the takeaway is that blockchains should be permissionless ledgers where no one can be attacked by government for using them. And if you are, then you're not doing it correctly. And so you got to be careful. But I'm going to toss over to Naomi.
Will, it's just a quick question for you as we wrap up. Is this going to make Binance even less decentralized? Because are people going to be unwilling, if they're in China where so much mining happens, are they going to be unwilling to run like Binance chain nodes if they're putting information through their server that is basically trying to be censored by the Chinese government? Is that going to make people step back and say, I actually don't want anything to do with this because I don't want to get into any trouble? What are your thoughts?
I think there's a huge question in regards to crypto in China going forward. I'm beginning the process of talking with some mining networks over there to see what their takeaway is from this. I think if you saw the New Yorker published 2 days ago a really shocking story drama on the Uyghur population being detained in Xinjiang in China, just for some people being detained just for having WhatsApp on their phone. And so I think there's a huge incoming tsunami of danger for a lot of people in crypto in China. And that would be my takeaway. I don't know what it means for Binance. I don't know what it means for Binance employees, but this is a situation I'm pretty worried about, just covering it.